안녕하십니까 여러분. 오늘은 뉴스에는 북한하고 남한의 대통령들, 우리 미국의 대통령 도널드 J. 트럼프 덕분에 다른 대통령들 만났어, 통화했어, 안녕 계획이 나왔어. Now, for all my viewers who don't have a degree in being an expert on Korean language and politics, it's been a hell of a week. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States of America, by the weaponization of social media with his Twitter account, has shown enough about to ended the war in Korea. Now let's take a moment to ponder that. A war which began in 1950 has been presided over by more than a half dozen U.S. presidents, including sacred Ronnie Reagan. Sure enough, turns out that it took the Donald to unfuck that situation. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Diamond and Silk. We're going to be talking about the UK murdering its citizens. Guys, we got a lot to get through tonight. Let's do this. Oh no, Donald Trump with his madness on Twitter. He's gonna plunge us into a nuclear war with North Korea. Wait, peace talks? Oh, they come to the table. They're closing down all their nuclear programs? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I don't put the MAGA hat on all the time. In fact, it hangs on my wall most of the time. Shoo, buddy. Donald Trump is about to have achieved what not Obama, neither Bush, nor Clinton, nor Reagan, nor Carter. Yeah, I guess LBJ took a shit on it too, didn't he? All the U.S. presidents, up to today, it's Donnie Two Scoops Trump that managed to take the Korean War, bend that madman to his whim, and he essentially did it. Shut down nuclear proliferation with his Twitter account. Whew. Ain't a lot to say about that. Now, I will say this. It would be irresponsible of us not to operate under the assumption that this is a ruse being perpetrated by Kim Jong-un. We need to act and move forward in hopes that he is acting in good faith and that there is an actual interest in demilitarizing the demilitarized zone and reunifying the two Koreas. But it would be naive to not consider the possibility that it's a trap. Now, maybe it's not. Oh, correction, Yobo. It was 144 characters or less, and they've actually upgraded that to 200 and something now. I think it's is it 280? Did they just straight double it? Anyway, you get more characters on Twitter now. I don't tweet much. In fact, as a rule, I pretty much tweet the show's starting in 10 minutes. To my 300, I've got 200 or 300 Twitter followers. I haven't checked in a while. This is basically the only tweet I ever send. We're starting in 10 minutes. I would caution this concern. If North Korea were to advance on South Korea presently, without an end to the war, then there's a very real possibility that the United States of America gets involved, and that's very bad for North Korea. If, however, they end the war in Korea, and then a little bit further down the road, a couple of years maybe, North Korea makes a move. Now you're talking about the declaration of a new war, in which it can be argued, especially if we've drastically reduced our military footprint, that the U.S. doesn't have an active interest or standing to get involved. That's a possible endgame that we should be concerned about. We should also be concerned that active denuclearization of the peninsula... We should also be concerned that an active denuclearization of the peninsula is another sort of geopolitical maneuver for the optics, so that if there's not the probability of the war going nuclear, if they should start a new war between the two Koreas in the future, if the possibility of that war going nuclear has been taken off the table, then that's one less reason for the U.S. to get involved. All of that speaks to North Korea improving its odds on fighting a land war on its own peninsula with the apparent objective of claiming the rest of the peninsula for the DPRK. I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm not spewing conspiracy theory here. What I'm talking about is taking the available evidence, the available intelligence, and making a reasonable, rational analysis of the situation, and moving forward, being hopeful. Turn the volume up a smidge, Purdy, please. Well, Julie, what I can do is I can move my microphone closer. That's about the best I can do for you. But I'll do that. You should have my sound back now, and that's all I've got for you. That's the gain is all the way up, and the microphone's as close as I can get it with the cable still attached. So I apologize, sweetheart, but if you've got your TV or your computer turned up to the max, then I'm afraid this is all I've got for you for now. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, you're quite welcome, Julie. We aim to please here. We're in the service business. We service you content. That's the objective. I say we because I'm as big as two men. So, the end of the Korean War, that's a major, major, major foreign policy win. If we start looking at actual reunification, and forget about everything else I was just saying, those are concerns that we should have. Move forward optimistically, but guarded optimism. There's always the chance that North Korea's trying to pull a fast one, but let's assume that's not the case. Let's assume that North Korea is operating in good faith. And let's talk about what that could mean moving forward. Reunified Korea, worst case scenario, goes under the North Korean system. That is an improbable outcome, but let's just go ahead and talk about the worst case scenario for a minute. Even that is a good thing on the world scale. It's not great for South Koreans, but it does improve the safety of the planet. And like I said, that is the least probable non-war scenario going forward. And I say that it is good for the planet even if it's not great for Koreans, because it would mean that even if the Korean Peninsula remained in a North Korean style socialism or communist state, that the peninsula could be opened up to foreign relations, because it would not be engaged necessarily in the active war and necessary embargoes and things like that. It'd be opened up to more friendly foreign influence, which drastically increases the likelihood that communist Koreans are exposed to liberty and freedom and happiness, and then overthrow that communist government. So even the worst case scenario is a pretty optimistic one. The more probable case is that Kim Jong-un, who, let's face it, he's a fat boy like me. The boy likes to eat. Now, I'll tell you one thing about fat boys. Even the leftistest of the fat boys, he wants to be able to eat what he can eat. He wants to get what he wants. And the best way to do that, which Kim will quickly realize, is through active, aggressive capitalism. So, I mean, we're so much winning! I apparently did not do enough of my voice warm-ups for that particular exclamation. That sounds like my door. We got some Kayne in the house.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kayne.
It's
Let me get back in frame.
Look who got a hat.
I do got a hat. You like that?
Where's the again for 2020?
So, yeah, Kayne's back. Did you miss him? I know you did. I missed him. Hey, buddy. So, I was just talking about Korea, the situation in Korea, and I just finished explaining to the audience that the worst case scenario, you missed it. I started the whole thing in Korean. I was like,
Everyone was impressed and
was
confused.
Great. Yes. It was hilarious. Yes. See, V started off by bitching about it. Dude, English, it was awesome.
So the situation that our president started, right? We didn't have anything previous.
Right, exactly.
There, and then...
Oh, he's going to start a war in Korea. We're at war in Korea, shitheads. Oh, you know how there are two things. There are two common factors that are rapid predictors of liberalism. Two common characteristics that almost guarantee that a person's going to vote Democrat when they go to the poll. An inability to do math, and an unfamiliarity with history. They don't know math, and they don't know history.
They're well versed, a lot of them, in the alternative math and history.
Oh, you mean like the whole thing where white people used
butterfly nets and
butterfly nets and cargo straps to steal the Africans?
Yeah.
Or my favorite is the one where we use smallpox blankets to murder all the Indians. 100 years before germ theory.
Right, yeah.
That's right. We went ahead and engaged in biological warfare back when the idea of germs was a burn you at the stake witchcraft offense. Yeah, that's how that went.
Huh.
Oh, hats. Hats? No hats. You know what? I got to say this for the Donald, too. Thank God he didn't put out a green hat, or I wouldn't be able to wear it with my screen. I'd have to get a blue screen.
Well, of course, it's the red power tie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love the red power.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. But I sweat. So, let's talk about show stuff. Cade has not yet seen Diamond and Silk.
I have
Y'all...
not. I mean, I'm familiar with Diamond and Silk. I have not seen,
the hearing.
The hearing. Right.
Okay. We know. And this isn't one of those we think we know because we know, or people keep saying and so we believe them. There is hard, legitimate evidence and live testimonial to support the notion that the censorship of conservative voices on social media, most especially Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Google, is very much a real thing. It's happening. Today, or I'm sorry, not today, day before yesterday, Diamond and Silk. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth. Diamond and Silk, the two loud black women that love Trump, and I love them for loving Trump, and I love their show. Buddy, I tell you, if I was to run into Diamond and Silk on the street somewhere, I would hug the ever-loving shit out of them. And they just testified before the House Judiciary Committee on Facebook censorship. And babe, I appreciate you making coffee. If you want to bring Kate a cup of coffee and come fill up my cup, I would appreciate the hell out of it. I love you. Diamond and Silk. I will. I'll put links in the description later.
What names did they have up for them?
I can't remember their real names, but they had their on their name tags. They had Miss last name.
Okay.
And they were both referred to by their first name, their nom de guerre in the middle, and then their last name.
I would love for Fox News at least to have put up Diamond and Silk underneath them while they were.
Well, and they kept referring to them as Diamond and Silk throughout the whole thing. And Lindsay, trust me, go on YouTube and look up the hearing. It is 3 hours of solid gold. Oh yeah, Lindsay, come on, honey. We'll throw Michael out of his bed and put you up. We'd love to have you. The boy can sleep in my bed with me. It'd be all right. He's 2 and he still has an auto snuggle function. Yeah, did you know the 2016 models came with an auto snuggle function?
Really?
2016? 2015.
Well, you better get that right.
2015. Woo. He's about to be 3 in like
that's more important than
25 days.
Okay, yeah.
He's about to be 3. But he still has that auto snuggle function. Excellent. So you haven't seen it yet. I mean, it is comedy gold. But
so they were practically in character.
Yeah, they actually made it pretty cool that they actually made it pretty clear that they're not playing characters when they do the Diamond and Silk roles on TV.
That's great.
That's just who they are. Diamond starts talking. And then Mr. Zuckerberg, he added the algorithms to our show, and it stopped getting watched. And that's when Mr. Zuckerberg, I love him. I love him. But there were a few standouts. Mr. Nadler, who's a rep from New York, he opened his time. He was one of the first speakers. He opened his time by saying flat out that the idea that conservatives are being censored on social media is a hoax and it is only being proliferated to create fear to drive votes. Horseshit. For example, Stephen.
That sounds very similar to the Democratic strategy since Lyndon Johnson.
And in the same breath, he said, "We shouldn't be wasting our time on this. We should be talking about Russia." So you prefer your hoax to our hoax, is what you're saying. That's his thing. I prefer your hoax to my hoax. That's what he said. And then Hank Johnson. Oh my God, y'all. Watching Hank Johnson question Diamond and Silk. So, Miss Richardson, I wanted to ask you if the Donald Trump for president campaign ever paid you. Were you ever paid by the Trump for president? Nope. No, sir, we were never paid by the Donald Trump. Now, hold on.
Wait a minute. This sounds like
I wanted to ask you, the question I'm asking you is, was you ever paid? No, we was never paid by the Trump campaign. I don't think you understand the question that I'm asking.
Wow, that's racist.
I want to know if you was paid by the Trump campaign. Seriously, she answered him flat, no. And then Jeffries.
I don't know if it's him or your impression of him, but he sounds suspiciously like he's got an African butterfly net in his trunk.
You know what? You know that the representative I'm talking about is a representative from this district, Hank Johnson, who's black, and believes that if we station any more Marines in Guam, it will tip over.
Oh, it's that guy.
It's that guy.
The physics guy.
Now, and here's another funny thing. Every black Democrat that questioned Diamond and Silk beat them on their money, just jumped down their throat. Well, why you mad at Facebook? You make a whole bunch of money off of them, don't you? Yes, and we should be making more. But to make it about how much money they earn, the fact of the matter is that Democrats don't like to talk about things like facts and rights. They don't like to talk about
facts are racist.
The Constitution. Yeah. Our natural human rights are racist. Facts are racist. Evidence is racist.
Numbers are clearly racist.
Numbers hate black people. Yeah. So, but I think I've devoted enough time to Diamond and Silk. Y'all have got to watch it. And I think I'm going to actually go through that. I just watched the hearing again earlier today. And I'm going to end up watching it again and commenting on some specific stuff, because Nadler was wrong, and lying through his teeth, and he knows it. Jeffries was wrong. And quite frankly, Miss Jackson Lee should have been hauled out of there by her ear and thrown in jail for contempt, because she just kept running her mouth after her time was expired, and the chairman said repeatedly, banging his gavel and saying repeatedly, the gentlelady's time is expired. The gentlelady's time is expired. Now hold on. I'm going to ask the gentlelady's time is expired. You know what? And then the chairman had the gall later on to take a moment to explain to her that her time was expired and apologize to her. No! Rules are the rules. Is she a grown-ass woman who's qualified to serve in that seat and should therefore know what the rules are and be expected to follow them? Or is she an unhinged ignoramus without the sense or the courtesy required for the position? Clearly, the evidence suggests the latter.
Lindsay.
Emojis are racist. Yes, because white people are yellow.
But well, they are on The Simpsons. I just figured out white privilege.
Oh, the Band-Aids.
In my life, have never noticed that Band-Aids are Caucasian, strictly.
No, they're not.
Never occurred to me. Have you seen black Band-Aids?
Yeah.
They have chocolate Band-Aids.
There are chocolate Band-Aids. There are chocolate Band-Aids. There are clear Band-Aids. There are Transformer Band-Aids. There are Ninja Turtle Band-Aids.
Well, I knew they were Transformers. Ninja
The
Turtles Band-Aids,
default...
obviously, that's what I get. But I never knew. That's white privilege. I am, I'm going to admit it.
You know what? I'm glad you
right
said
now.
that. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not white privilege. It is majority privilege.
Wait a minute.
That is an important distinction.
Are you going to make some BS argument that black people are 13% of the population?
So,
I mean, that's obviously racist and untrue.
So the white privilege thing, they like to say that it's based on this essay called "Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack," and it points out things like if you're white, you can expect to live in a community where most of the people look like you. Mm-hmm. I live in a place where the demographics are about 50-50, but if you're white, you can expect people to treat you a certain way based on the color that you are, blah, 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 blah. And that's the white privilege thing. So, does it stand to reason that if I go to China, I also enjoy white privilege? If I go to Africa, I also enjoy white privilege? If I go to Mexico, do I also enjoy white? No. Because in Mexico, brown people buy Band-Aids. People with darker skin are not a demographically insignificant portion of the target market. Majority privilege? Okay, sure. White privilege?
Well, if you believe in democracy so friggin' hard, then you ought to believe in majority privilege.
The phrase white privilege, just like the phrase toxic masculinity, is an excuse to pretend like your hate speech is different than the hate speech that you don't like.
The way, without going onto a whole other show about white
privilege. Fuck it, we're there. Let's go.
The way that I like
we still have to talk about the UK murdering its citizens, though.
Yes, obviously. Let's end on that horrible note. Liberal fascism, my favorite. The way that I describe this is going to ruffle your feathers. That's why I say it needs to be
Bring it on.
A whole other show. The way that I describe white privilege to black people when we have this conversation, and I have a history of and a reputation of being very candid with other races.
Wait. Julie, you cannot dub her coffee queen judge. Coffee queen judge? I'm down to half a cup.
And I was empty. She said it's brewing, though. She sent me a text message that said it's brewing.
Oh!
So she's a coming. Oh,
I apologize. She sent him a text message. She didn't tell me nothing.
Anyway, the way I describe it to black people when I get into this conversation, I've had this conversation many times. I want to say, if you look at it on a numerical value scale. So as infants, we are all born at a 0. We are born with this equal opportunities to make it in this nation.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Obviously, there are going to be things that propel certain people being born into money. It's often easier, of course, not just because you are surrounded by money, but because inherently what that comes with is knowing people, and knowing people gets people places, gets people jobs, gets people educations, so on and so forth.
That's correct.
Now, the way I describe it, white privilege is real, but it's not real in the way that it's described. And one of the very simple way that I can make this as succinct as possible, which I'm very bad at because obviously I'm still rambling, is other races like to look at white people as starting off at a 4, 5, 6 from birth, right? And they start out at a 0, and we start out at a 4, 5, 6. And we're already propelled forward and toward success in our lives.
Right, because when we apply for college, our SAT scores are given the exact same weight as minorities by comparison.
No, they get scholarships for being minorities.
Oh, that's a separate problem.
Now, granted, we also get scholarships at places like Morehouse or Florida A&M. And there are places that white people get scholarships for being minorities. But I digress. The point is this. What I often say to them is, yes, it does exist. It doesn't exist in the way, in the form, or and the severity that you think it exists. we don't start out at a 4, 5, or 6.
I'm sorry, I've been distracted by the comments. Julie's fucking with me, and she's hilarious.
Oh, the coffee thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at it numerical value, if we're all supposed to start out at a 0, and they believe we start out at a 4 or 5, right? That's not true. Now, granted, what I will say is we all start out at 0, but what I will say is if you are born in the situation that Chris and I were born in, which is middle class, upper middle class, even I was lower middle class, so somewhere around there, then I would call that a 0, and if that's a 0, then I would say black people born in the ghetto cycle, black people born in projects in certain places, I'd give them that they start out at a -2, -3. But they act as if we start out as a positive, and they start out at absolute 0, where it's we still start out at absolute 0. We have to earn everything we get. We're not handed things. But
Okay.
I don't know what it's like to have to break that mentality that exists in the lower income housing in inner cities and black communities. I don't know what it's like to have to break free from that Democrat, rather, the democratic modern slavery
Plantation.
that exists.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the blue plantation.
I don't know what it's like to walk through a store and have the plainclothes security guy decide to follow me because I fit a description or because I
See,
fit
I
a
just
history
don't
of
buy
something.
that.
It's true. It's absolutely true. I don't. You didn't.
No, it's numerically impossible.
It's true. It's absolutely. It's. I mean, it's. All right. I'll put it this way. If a black person,
yeah, categorically, a black person enters a store, there is a plainclothes security person to follow them.
No. That's not what I said. I said that what you're taking what I said and making a hard rule out of it. What I'm talking about is if you're black, at some point you've probably entered a store and been followed by security because black people are more likely to have done those particular crimes. Right? This is not this one of my good friends. I will call him T because I don't want to say his name on the air. Incredibly well, dude looks like he's a long lost Huxtable.
Okay.
This guy wears a bow tie. I mean, the guy looks. You take one look at him and you're like, I want him to do my taxes. I want him to watch my kids when I'm out of town. I trust this guy to do anything. But this is a guy who his driving record is spotless. Yet he's been pulled over numerous times just for being in because most of his friends, when he lived here at least, were white. And he would end up in neighborhoods where black people didn't live, and he was pulled over because they were suspicious that there was a black person there. Now there are other sides to that. There's the black guy who walked up and put his arm around the girl at the bar near the college campus. Remember this? And there was a white guy who saw it and saw that she looked uncomfortable, or assumed that she looked uncomfortable. Didn't say anything because he didn't want to appear racist. She ended up raped and murdered because he didn't want to say anything. Look what she's wearing too.
She just made that dress today.
It's beautiful. Thank you, dear.
It's also hot, so yeah.
Okay, so go easy on it. Okay, and then there's another incident where there
Thanks,
was
baby.
There was
I love you.
That
you look super hot in your new homemade
a
dress.
1954 moment right there. Just boom. She's gonna go up back to her singer sewing machine, I'm sure.
It's a brother.
She's gonna go sing to her sewing machine?
No, it's singer sewing machines.
No, it's a brother.
It's a brother.
Why would she sing to it?
What's a brother? It's the name of it is brother?
The brand of machine that I have is a brother.
Is brother?
Is brother.
It's called brother?
Yeah.
Yes.
They make printers too.
What odd names to name things.
They didn't make that printer though. That's an Epson.
There's one called Singer.
Like salt.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Singer and brother.
Yeah, I know.
Believe it or not, boys can sew too. The tailoring used to be entirely done by guys.
Oh, I'm not being sexist. I'm
the ones in the Golden Circle? No, they were drug
No,
dealers.
that's a
But the
different-
Kingsmen.
Right? There
So,
Anyway,
From Kingsman, we have learned.
oh,
that
Lindsay
someone
wants to
has-
see your dress.
No, I don't. God.
is she on there? No, look at that.
Wait,
What am I? I'm cut off
Am I in
now.
the way?
There we go. There I go. It looks like the chairs are rotating. The BFM cyclorama. Anyway, then there was another incident where there was a black man in a neighborhood, and the husband left for work. He went in and raped and I believe also murdered the wife of the guy who left for work. And there was someone who saw him, knew that he didn't belong in that neighborhood, knew that, he'd been living in the neighborhood for X amount of years and didn't recognize the guy. Didn't say anything because the guy was black and didn't want to appear racist. So there's...
Well, remember the shooting in California where the two...
Sandpoint?
Huh? No. San Bernardino.
There you go.
That's right.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Going to San Bernardino, ring-a-ding-ding. The San Bernardino shooting. Lindsay says I'm lucky she's straight.
Hey, real quick.
Hey, we're in the market for a spare wife, Lindsay. Just come on down.
Real quick note about San Bernardino. I watched The Founder last week. Did not know that the McDonald's brothers were named Mac and Dick. Which means we were one hilariously poor marketing decision away from being called the Big Dick. Try the new Big Dick with special sauce. Anyway, proceed.
One of the longest lasting.
Would you like a Big Dick and fries?
One of the longest lasting, most well-known burger joints in Spokane is Dick's.
Mm-hmm.
And they, of course, sell t-shirts that say things like, I eat Dick's. And that's one of the most popular t-shirts you'll actually see up there. Like, on people that go for a run, they're usually wearing a shirt that says, I heart Dick's, I eat Dick's, because,
Embrace it.
it's hilarious.
It is.
Why wouldn't you?
It is quite...
Okay, so anyway, we're doing a show.
Sorry.
I love you.
I'm not bringing you coffee anymore.
Thank
You're
you.
super sexy. You should always bring me coffee. I appreciate it.
San Bernardino.
The San Bernardino attacks. One of the things that was part of the equation there is that the two perpetrators, both Arabs. He was a citizen that had gone back and married. He had married a national from overseas. She was a radical jihadist. She radicalized him. This is a few years ago, and I hadn't planned on talking about it tonight, so I'm just trying to remember. But anyway, the pair of them, one of the things that was repeated by all of their neighbors is that the neighbors all said they had seen suspicious activity, odd comings and goings, people with vans pulling up and dropping off packages at weird hours of the night, suspicious people in and out of the house, and they never said anything to anybody because they were afraid that it would look like they were profiling them for being Muslims and assuming that because they're Muslims, they're terrorists.
And then people were killed. Right.
By Muslim terrorists.
Right.
Yeah, so that's... Guys...
But the overall point was, yes, these things happen. Political correctness kills people. It kills people. It kills people. But profiling for the simple sake of having a different skin color and being related to people who do things, who also have that skin color,
is perfectly reasonable.
Is reasonable, but it claims innocent victims a lot. Now, most of the time, 99 times out of 100, more than 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, the victim is inconvenienced. It's a victim of convenience. It's discouraging, it's embittering, but it is inconvenience. It's not harm.
Well, you look at the numbers, and stop and frisk worked.
It did. Right. But at most, my friend T has been inconvenienced. He's never been beaten. He's never been falsely arrested. Now, granted, again, he looks really, really responsible. But the fact is, he's still black. And he's dark black. But it does happen. And we don't know what that's like. The direction of change is always pointed the other way. It has to be pointed back to the communities, but I have to digress on that because we need to get to the UK.
Yeah, we've got 20 minutes left in our show, and that segment was not in the plan. We got to get off of it.
Yep.
So the UK, big happenings.
They're killing children.
It hurts me to say this, but this is not the case of Alfie Evans is not the first time in recent memory, nay, this year, that the British government has murdered a child for the sake of political correctness. Now, let me be very clear on this. In both cases, in the case of Charlie Gard and the case of Alfie Evans, the argument by the left is made that the taxpayer expense, that burden should not be borne for the sake of a child that is likely to die of its illness. In both cases, in the case of Alfie Evans, who just passed away yesterday morning, and in the case of Charlie Gard, an outside force, an outside source, offered to take over all of the costs and to provide treatment for the child. Now, with Charlie Gard, there was an experimental treatment in the United States that had a very low chance of success, but it was a chance, and I'll take a slim chance over a no chance any day of the week. Certain death, probable death. Let me see. I'll take probable death over certain death every single time.
And the chance of life versus whoever's definition of dignity. And whatever the hell that means.
So the argument from the left is that the child is not likely to survive even with treatment. And so it's not worth the taxpayer's dollar to treat the child. And so instead of treating the child, more importantly, instead of allowing the parents to remove the child from the hospital and take him abroad to seek treatment, there's so much information here that it's hard to form a sentence and get it all in a nice, neat line the way it's supposed to go. It's because it's messy. It's messy because it's murder. Murder is messy. Alfie Evans had a degenerative brain disease, was not likely to survive it. An Italian hospital offered to bear the cost of treating Alfie, to treat him free of charge. The Italian government extended Alfie citizenship in order to expedite Alfie's travel to Italy for treatment. This is very similar to how the United States tried to help Charlie Gard. Rather than allow Alfie to undergo an even risky but possible treatment, the British government decided to murder the child. They removed his air. They took him off the ventilator and said that he should be dead within minutes. Now, I will say this, in fairness to the British government, the primary reason that Alfie did not die within the first few minutes of being removed from the ventilator is because his father remained by his bed and continued to give him mouth to mouth for 36 hours. Until Alfie finally starved to death.
My God, that is a pitiful sight.
They didn't just remove the ventilator and starve the child to death, which I might add is a slow and painful death.
Not dignified either.
And far from dignified. And that's their argument, is the whole dignity angle. Ben Shapiro made a very good argument that dignity is a term that they use because they don't want to use objectively reasonable terms like comfort.
Who is one to define another one's dignity?
Right.
Regardless.
And I'll link the Ben Shapiro show later. He has a very good bit on this. They didn't just disconnect his heir and leave him to starve to death. They didn't just subject Alfie to the new British Holodomor. They posted armed guards by the dozen to keep Alfie in the hospital, to prevent Alfie's parents and concerned British citizens from taking Alfie out of the hospital. Now, so understand, the fact that an outside source, that the Italian government offered to bear the cost, or I'm sorry, that the hospital in Italy offered to bear the cost, and the parents were prepared to bear the burden of the cost of travel. The fact of the matter is that the burden of Alfie's treatment was not on the British taxpayer. That being the case, Alfie's death is categorically and inignorably 100% a political assassination. Alfie was murdered by his government to make a political point. Furthermore, here's the other thing that really pisses me off about Alfie and Charlie Gard. Let's just say that both children got the treatment that was offered them. Pro bono, the way it was offered. Went through the experimental treatments. For one, if Charlie Gard had gone through the treatment and the treatment had failed, well, part of what Alfie has just suffered is that nobody got an opportunity to learn from attempting to apply the treatment to Charlie Gard. And I don't know or if they had the exact same degenerative brain disease, but the fact of the matter is that degenerative brain disease, they both did have degenerative brain diseases. That means that the same doctors would be involved, even if it wasn't the same doctors performing the treatment on both boys. The doctors that performed the treatment that would have performed the treatment on Charlie Gard originally would have, even if they failed, and they probably would have, even if they had failed to treat Charlie Gard, if he died, they would have learned from that experience and been able to share that information. And that may have been the stepping stone that got Alfie real treatment and allowed him to live a good life. But Alfie didn't get that chance. So Alfie's situation is that he was murdered by the British government. And in part, that murder was brought on by the results of the previous murder of Charlie Gard. Now, when the next young boy has a degenerative brain disease and the British government murders him, it will be the case that that child would also have benefited to some degree, no matter how infinitesimal, from the failed treatments of Alfie and Charlie. Now, if it's 20 years from now, and, one child a year dies of a similar degenerative brain disease without attempts at treatment, then 20 years from now, we will not have further developed the capability to treat that disease. However, let's say you got one a year that is 1 or 2 years old with some sort of degenerative brain disease, and we attempt, but fail to treat them, every one of them, for the next 20 years. In 20 years, we are 20 years closer to being able to treat that disease. And every one of those boys, or girls, whatever, every one of those children, throughout that whole period of time, had a slightly better than nil chance. But instead, because socialized medicine is the politique du jour, we are going to murder children. I also find it amusing that the party of socialized medicine, which murders children, is the party which murders children. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to talk about gun control a little bit too, because this is one of those things. I need my firearms in case some government thug wants to shut me up, but also in case some government thug tries to murder my children. You best to believe that if you put a line of armed police in front of my child and tell me that I have to stand there and watch you murder him, they will die. They may take me down in the process. The only question is, how many of them can I make die? Because I will not stand by and watch my government murder my children. I will not stand by and watch my government murder your children the way that the British murdered Charlie Gard and Alfie Evans. Will not happen. Thoughts?
Not really. This, I'm with Lindsay. This makes me physically ill. Not that I don't think it's worth talking about by any means, but it's sickening. And honestly, the worst part of it is I don't know what we can do about it. We can have this show. We can talk to people. We can broadcast opinions. But what the hell do you do? What do you do against that? I mean, it's Rod, of course, pro-life. Abortion's enough. Is that not enough? Now you're saying that a child who is out of the womb is not worth saving? I mean, now you're determining. I don't. Where does it stop?
Right. It's not like we're a Jewish country where the fetus isn't viable until it graduates from law school. I'm not into late-term abortions, or
Well, now that's a whole other subject too, because most abortions are a threat to the mother's life are late term. But I'm against abortion as a form of birth control. I personally think you ought to have proof that it's being done for the right reasons. Will doctors who are very much pro-choice smudge things to to make that happen, sure, of course they will. There will be people who do that. But the point is this value or lack of value that we're allowing a government institution to place on life is beyond sickening, and I just don't know what the hell you do about it.
Well, I don't think we're there just yet. What you do about it is you take up arms and you abolish the government. I don't think we're there just yet.
But it's just what's happening.
But the UK may be
to Charlie, right? That's my point. To what's happened to Charlie and to Alfie, it's unfathomable that 2017, 2018, United Kingdom, the most advanced country in Western Europe, is supposedly is doing something this brutal. I mean, this is straight liberal fascism. This is brutality.
Yeah.
And it's I don't even know how to process that. This is something from Hollywood, people. I mean, this is something you don't expect to see outside of some dystopian a script based on some dystopian future. I mean, it's beyond disgusting and
Now, I will disagree with you there. I fully expected to see this kind of stuff. And I have been saying since before Obama got elected, when he first started talking about bringing socialized medicine to the U.S., that this is exactly this, choosing who survives, is the result of socialized medicine.
Of course it is. I just didn't expect it to happen so soon.
Well, they've been at it a little bit longer than we have.
Yeah, it's something that seems like it's in that dystopian thing that it's all based in truth. I mean, any sort of science fiction type of thing is based in some sort of a truth. It's based on exploiting some sort of a fear to send a message. Often that message is quite clear. There's something we can do about it. It's not going to happen in your lifetime. Yada yada yada. This is happening now, guys. This is 2017 Charlie Gard, 2018 Alfie Evans. This is happening right now. It's unthinkable. I don't really have any thoughts on it. I don't know what to say about it. You covered everything.
Let me say this about that. All through the last campaign cycle, we heard Bernie and Hillary going on and on and on about how we need to be more like Europe. We got the Donald.
Now we're more like America again.
And what are we seeing in Europe? You got fuckhead McHitler dog got fined $800 for making a video about a pug doing the Nazi salute. So you can literally be fined for the crime of making a joke in poor taste. You got
they have
Lauren
no
Southern.
First Amendment, but still.
You got Lauren Southern and I forget. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I forgot the other one's name. But you got a couple of conservative political commentators, young girls, 22, 23, something like that, were not just harassed. They were arrested by the British authorities under their terrorism prevention laws and deported and banned from the UK. And I shit you not, the arrest records, the documents involved, they don't list any particular activity. They literally list the reason for their detention and deportation as they are conservative commentators. Or, I'm sorry, conservative journalists. They were expelled as terrorists for the crime of conservative journalism, of having conservative opinions. You got Charlie Gard and Alfie Evans being murdered by their country. I'm sorry, guys. If you want to be more like Europe, go there. if you do not value your freedom of speech, if you do not accept the responsibility of the Second Amendment to guarantee your retention of the rest of your liberties, I don't need you. You have my active invitation to vacate liberty. And on that note, I think we had a pretty good show tonight. Thanks for coming out. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Sunday. And until then, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life.